USS Princeton, launched in 1843, was designed by John Erickson, a pioneering genius of naval engineering. The ship was groundbreaking in a number of ways, including the two vibrating lever engines designed by Erickson, whose design not only allowed them to sit below water level to protect them from damage, but also allowed extraordinary speed that allowed Princeton to easily outpace the famous British steamship Great Western in a speed trial. Naval officer Harry Watts noted in the Naval Institute Press that a power plant weighing 85 tons had been designed to turn Ericsson's screw. HMS Arrogant, built 5 years later, contained a steam system of comparable power, but of much greater weight, and its volume of some 2,800 cubic feet far exceeded the 1,700 cubic feet occupied by the Princeton's engine. Her unique power plant, using a collapsible funnel, filled New Yorkers watching her pass, the Herald wrote, with utter astonishment and amazement. And as a warship, Princeton carried two huge 12-inch main guns, the Oregon, designed by Erickson, and the Peacemaker, designed by the ship's captain, Robert Stockton, either of which could throw a 200-pound cannonball 5 miles. Stockton told the Secretary of the Navy, "She can throw a greater weight of metal at one broadside than most frigates. The big guns of Princeton can be fired with an effect terrific and almost incredible, and with a certainty heretofore unknown." Naval historian Lee Pearson described Princeton. "She could be called epic-making for many of her features anticipated later practice." On February 28, 1844, the Princeton was fully outfitted and ready to sail, and so she was taken on a pleasure demonstration cruise down the Potomac. Guests included President John Tyler, members of his cabinet, former First Lady Dolly Madison, and 200 other guests. And while they cruised, they could enjoy demonstration of the Princeton's magnificent guns. On the last demonstration of the day, disaster struck. The breech of the Peacemaker exploded, throwing shrapnel into the crowd. 6 people were killed and 20 injured. The now nearly forgotten explosion of the gun Peacemaker on the 28th of February, 1844, was what historian Kerry Walters described in his 2013 book, Explosion on the Potomac, as a black swan of the destructive variety. The huge naval gun's blown breech killed the U.S. Secretary of State, Secretary of the Navy, and the Chief of the Navy's Bureau of Construction. Walters writes, "The explosion nearly cost the United States the state of Texas, put an end to John Tyler's chance of a second term in the White House, dangerously ratcheted up tensions between the North and South over slavery, and contributed to the eventual eruption of 2 wars. There are few events in the nation's history that have launched such a domino succession of unpredictable and disastrous or near-disastrous consequences." And after the explosion, the ship's reputation was tarnished and her promising design nearly forgotten. Walters argues that the explosion delayed the modernization of the Navy by some 15 years, until Ericsson's skills were demanded again with the outbreak of the U.S. Civil War, when many of Princeton's unique features would be incorporated into his game-changing design of USS Monitor.